Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry, I am not there, I did not die. Thanks to Mary Elizabeth Fry for penning this beautiful poem in 1932. In one sense, Bob did die. In another sense, he was set free to return home from whence he came. The last 7 years of Bob's life was quite a challenge, as his own brain became his most treacherous adversary. The circumstances under which the baton of life passes from our hands into the hands of those we leave behind is not a choice we are allowed to dictate. Regardless of whether we go out in a blaze of glory or whimpering in a corner, we are freed from all of life's accumulated sufferings. Bob discarded his body, and his essence moved on. He left the weakened body and collapsed mind behind. As I held Bob's lifeless body and the tears of grief fell upon it, I knew Bob was no longer in that body. I could no longer see Bob with my eyes, but I could feel the full impact of our shared 15 years. As humans, we use our 5 senses constantly, and still we often struggle to make sense of what is happening around us. What is, what was, what shall be, present, past, future. Normally, time is divided into segments that we can comfortably cope with. But as you hold the lifeless body of a loved one, time is compressed into a powerful moment that hits head on. All variables spin into chaos and shock wrenches you to your knees. You are forced to be still, totally surrounded by the moment. Dismissing all regrets from the past and fears for the future, you let go and let God and breathe from your soul. I invite you to breathe from your soul with me as we acknowledge and honor Bob's 73 years of life. First, I must not be remiss in expressing my heartfelt gratitude for the deeds, thoughts, prayers, the pre-COVID hugs, the smiles, communications that helped to sustain us during the last 7 years. So many of you proved to be mud and trenches comrades, noticing every stumble and catching us before we fell. Caregivers on wheels delivering Bob back to his doorstep when he wandered. For fear of leaving someone out, I will not mention names, but you know who you are, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. There are 2 individuals who must be named. Virginia Moore, Bob's CNA, and her fiancé, Ronnie Reed, whose knowledge, skill, and expertise, seasoned with compassion, assured me that Bob received the best possible care. You are truly amazing human beings, and you were such strong advocates for Bob's comfort and well-being. I thank you very much. We're in a very difficult time where people are dying prematurely, many all alone without loved ones at their bedside. 7 years ago, my sister and I were able to care for my mother in her home as she battled Alzheimer's. Now, With COVID complicating all of our lives, funerals and memorials are a true challenge. I deeply regret that Bob's life celebration is virtual. Our lives are becoming virtual lives, as if we're all living in some twisted video game. I do recognize the necessity of keeping our friends and family safe and healthy. No one misses those warm, fuzzy reality hugs more than me. But we're all just trying to make do right now. So I do apologize that we're not gathered together in a unit. Now, with all our preliminaries taken care of Bob, it's all about Bob. We're gonna do it Bob's way. Bob lived without pretense. He tried to impress no one. His genuineness was the attribute that most endeared him to me. He was reserved and never sought the limelight. As I worked on this life celebration, I kept asking myself, what would Bob want? Within his genuine nature, he would want me to share who he was and what he did with his time here. He would not want me to add bells and whistles and sugarcoat his life. He embraced his humanness, and so shall we. On December 11th, 1947, Robert Joseph Merker became the 9th child of Leslie Willem and Olive Amanda Merker. Living 3 houses away from the 9th hole of Beacon Hill Country Club in Leonardo, New Jersey, made caddying a natural first job for Bob and his brothers. Bob often carried double bags, weighing almost as much as he did. Having 6 brothers meant plenty of sports activities: baseball, basketball, football, boating, and fishing. Bob attended Leonardo, Bayview, and Middletown Township School, where he experienced several times the shaking heads of teachers uttering, "Oh no, not another Merker," at the initial roll call. Bob was usually the class clown and stood out as an independent thinker. He and the principal were quite familiar with each other. Being part of a fast-developing community, part of his 3rd grade year was spent upstairs above an operational firehouse. Bob's hangouts were Stanley's Confectionery and Muscle's Watermelon Bar in Atlantic Highlands. Bob's first car was a hand-me-down from his brother, Johnny, a green '54 Chevy. When Bob's best friend, Carl Bennett, lost his leg in Vietnam during Bob's senior year of high school, Bob felt compelled to enlist. While others were avoiding the draft, Bob stepped up to the plate as a way to honor and support his injured friend. While classmates were signing annuals and going to the prom, Bob was in basic training at Fort Dix. After basic training, Bob was trained in air defense fire distribution control at Fort Bliss, Texas. He was then stationed in Okinawa, where he worked in motor pool. He had it made, but his reason for enlisting had not been satisfied. After 9 months, he requested a transfer to Vietnam. The paperwork was not moving fast enough to suit Bob, so he told his supervisors that he was going to write his senator. Bob received the paperwork and entered Vietnam as part of the 25th Infantry Division. He worked on vehicles and did convoys in Cu Chi, Vietnam. After serving 5 months in Cu Chi, Bob received word that his father was nearing death, and he was given orders to return home. The remainder of his military service was at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, as a compassionate reassignment. Bob started his career in wastewater management at Monmouth Consolidated, where he progressed to maintenance supervisor. He then became a field representative for BFI Industries. When Bob wasn't working, he was caring for his aging mother and flirting with a waitress at a local restaurant. He started putting in some hours as a cook at the restaurant and decided to make that pretty little waitress, Elizabeth Francis, his wife. Unfortunately, wandering hearts resulted in a short marriage. While still in New Jersey, a lovely lady by the name of Dorothy caught Bob's eye and stole his heart. He took her under wing with her 3 children, and Bob got an instant triple dose of fatherhood. Bob was pleased with his move to North Carolina in 1986 with Dorothy and her 3 children. Bob thought all was going well until one Friday when he returned home from working out of town to his log cabin on Gold Mine Road to find Dorothy and the kids gone, along with most of his furniture. I crossed paths with Bob in 2004. When we met, I had already bought, remodeled, and sold several foreclosure properties. I was working on a house in Majestic Forest and was thrilled when Bob jumped right in and started helping me. I had a very tight schedule because I was teaching full-time at Parkwood Middle and working on investment properties during all my spare moments. It was during Easter break, and I was determined to get as much as possible accomplished on the house. Mind you, our relationship was new, and I barely knew Bob. Bob was on a ladder, and he said he felt dizzy. My response was for him to get off the ladder and rest a little. I kept right on working. He complained a second time of being dizzy. Now I'm starting to wonder, maybe this man doesn't want to work. Maybe working is not his thing. This time I suggested he go lay down in the truck for a little bit. I kept right on working. When Bob approached me the 3rd time, saying he really didn't feel good, I did not mask my irritation very well when I asked him if he wanted me to stop working and take him to the emergency room. When his reply was yes, he finally had my attention. Upon arriving and being examined at urgent care, the doctor wanted to place him in an ambulance to transport him to the emergency room. Bob was hospitalized overnight and treated for internal bleeding from stomach ulcers. I felt so bad. Go lay down in the truck, I said. How heartless I was. There he was trying to help me amid a serious medical condition. I decided then and there he was a keeper and should be listened to. Our broken roads crossed and we made it work. We started the business of Janet and Bob's Foreclosures, and we worked side by side on foreclosure properties for 10 years. We made a strong team. On rooftops, in crawl spaces, clogged sewer lines, septic tanks. If it needed fixing, we fixed it, or broke it so bad it couldn't be fixed. If it didn't move, it got painted. It was 10 good years for us. In 2014, my mother died after battling Alzheimer's for 7 years. Bob received his diagnosis of Alzheimer's in the same year. We closed Janet and Bob's Foreclosures, sold existing properties, and focused on creating the best environment we could for Bob to cope with this disease. Bob participated in 2 clinical trials at the Alzheimer's Center, but neither one gave any promising results. At Christmas of 2015, I surprised Bob with a white Westie, identical to the one he owned previously. Bob's second gunner has been a perfect support pet. As you can see from the photos, we tried to adjust to Bob's declining health one day at a time, keeping him as active and involved as possible. He was quite the competitor in the senior games. I did not have the privilege of knowing Bob in his early years, but when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I read the writing on the wall and began asking questions and taking notes. One thing I asked Bob was what his all-time favorite song was. I thought it might be a nice touch to play his favorite song at his life celebration. I had to scratch that idea when he told me about a special record that was cut in honor of a super local bowler, Billy Hotchkiss, whose nickname was Whammy. The title of the song was Whammy, King of the Alleys. If by some miracle I was able to procure a copy of that record, I think you would agree with me that subjecting you to that song at this life celebration would be the epitome of inappropriateness. But it would be very Bob. Y'all will have to forgive me in the future when I say that is so Bob when those little out of the ordinary moments occur in life. We decided that Whammy, King of the Alley, would not be suitable for Bob's life celebration, but here is a song that was one of Bob's favorites.
You saw me crying in the chapel, the tears I shed, tears of joy. I know the meaning of contentment. I am happy with the Lord. Just a plain and simple chapel where all good people go to pray. I prayed the Lord that I rose stronger as I live from day to day. I've searched and I've searched